Hello, and welcome to Enlightened Empaths, your community for the spiritually awakened, where we discuss, explore, and connect with fellow empaths, healers, intuitives, and seekers. Hello, empaths. We hope you're having a great start to your week. We are here with you in your ears right now to share our monthly Community Connections show. It is definitely our favorites, and from what we hear from you all, it's one of yours too. We've got a lot of great questions and stories to start us off. Do you want to go?
I'd love to. Our first one says, my wife and I have been trying to conceive over the past year via IUI, intrauterine insemination. We've tried 3 separate times with and without medication, and none have worked. I truly believe that we'll be blessed with a baby when it's the right time, but my struggle is the communication I've received from Spirit. I've asked for signs during each round, being very specific about the sign and about what the sign means. I've gotten every single one. My wife has asked for signs and has gotten them on her own, and we've seen certain ones together. We took a mental break and acknowledged that maybe we had more work to do individually and as a couple, so we focused on that. With our most recent attempt, I didn't ask for a sign, as I don't feel I can trust it when I see it. Instead, I did Reiki on my wife and wanted to see what my intuition would show me. I'm very clairvoyant and clairaudient, and when I was working on her womb, I saw 2 souls holding hands. I heard that they needed to come to Earth together, so that they had to wait until this round. I was hesitant about trusting it, that it came through and felt the same way information always does intuitively. I also thought, since we used medication to assist, maybe it would result in twins and that message would make sense. The day of the results, I meditated outside and saw my main guide, who I work with the most. She felt very eager and excited to share news, like she couldn't wait for me to open the present she got me. Again, the results were negative, no successful pregnancy. I'm very sad about my wife not getting pregnant, but I believe it's in the hands of the universe. What I'm frustrated about is that I feel my guides and angels are providing me with information and signs that are not valid and true. Am I making them up, although they feel exactly how every message or intuitive hit feels? If I receive no signs or messages, that would be one thing, but I'm getting information and am feeling somewhat betrayed. And I think this is really, really important right now, because so many of us are trying to make a stronger connection with Spirit, with our guides, with our dream team, with our own intuition. And when we are so confident and it's coming through the same way, and there's consistency in how we're receiving the message, and then it's not coming to fruition, I think it can cause doubt in other aspects of what we can trust in our lives.
I do too. And we also have to remember that our brain has this thing that when we are looking for one thing, let's say you've asked to see a blue bird as your sign and you just want it so badly and you really want to see that blue bird, your brain gets all lit up and focused on just seeing blue birds. And so you're going to see a blue bird, and that may or may not be your sign. That may just be the way your brain, the pareidolia effect, is working for you. And so this is why it's really tricky to ask for signs when you want something so badly. It's that weird tension of trust, allowing, and surrender. And it's a difficult thing.
And I think the time aspect is also something, is that seeing those babies in utero holding hands, seeing getting the same signs consistently, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but is it just that the timing isn't there yet?
Right. And so it might be how you're asking for the sign. Maybe it needs to be more specific. If this round of IVF will work for us, show us a blue bird in the next 3 days. But then is that trusting?
Right. Is that trusting? But is it also, I know for myself, when I get to those places in my life where I'm asking for signs or seeing something that I'm perceiving as a sign, and then it doesn't go in the direction I expected, or it doesn't have the end result that I expected, then if I ask for something, am I going to be able to be open enough to really take it as a sign, or am I going to think, uh-oh, this is just another trap door?
Right. Exactly.
It's a hard one.
It really, really is. And whenever this has happened to me, when I really, really, really want something and I get the signs and it still doesn't happen, I go through all the same emotions this listener is talking about. And then I switch tacks and I start to meditate and focus on asking to be shown what is it in me or my timeline that is blocking this from manifesting. And that's really hard too.
Yeah. So more of a surrender mode of,
Right.
I'm going to let go and see where this lands. But you're
Right.
right, with the cost and with the emotional cost, the financial, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical cost of going through, um, it, fertility treatments. That's another whole aspect of this. This is a huge commitment that these two are making to try to bring someone onto the planet.
Yeah, it really, really is. And I think that asking for signs for something that is so life changing and life important sometimes isn't the best route to take.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that when you ask for signs that are more general, like show me this if I'm on the right path, or show me this sign if I should apply for this job, but you don't, it's not like a job you have to put food on the table. It's just an option you're applying for. The signs come right in and they're fairly accurate. But when it's something that you have to have that you really, really want, and your love and your heart and all your emotions are tied up in it, it kind of muddies the waters.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking of a situation right now that I don't need to go into details about it, but it's been, the only way I can describe it is the obsessive card pull, when you're like, no, I need an answer. I need clarity. I'll flip a coin. I need to know. But anxiety and fear and worry are blocking what can come through intuitively for me.
Yes, exactly. And so I think this is one of those difficult parts of being a spiritual person in this school of life, is knowing when we have to kind of push something forward and really manifest it and co-create it, and understanding and recognizing when we have to surrender and accept what is right now. I think it's the hardest part of being a human.
I agree. I agree. But we are wishing the best for both of these people, that they are able to find, I really hope it works out well for them.
Yes, and I would trust those images and intuitive feelings that she's getting. It might just not be the right time.
Right.
Our next one is a bit long, but it really touched my heart because it shows how patiently Spirit works with us until we're ready to work. So our listener writes, I'm writing to thank you for your guidance and tell you a little of my journey in the profound way your books have nudged me along. I feel compelled to tell you the arc of my journey, along with a couple of specific moments with your books. My aunt passed away 2 years ago. She helped raise me and was the matriarch in our family. We were all devastated. I experienced an intense whirlwind of thoughts and emotions, and I could not keep track of time. I didn't know if a minute or an hour had passed. I was on overdrive. I was doing everything for everyone 24/7. Then, 2 weeks after her death, a heavy wooden bench fell on my foot and stopped me in my tracks. It changed me physically to this day and initiated my spiritual journey. I spent 6 weeks in bed nursing my foot and 6 more months in physical therapy, praying I wouldn't need surgery, praying I would regain feeling in my toes, praying that I could walk normally on it again. All my prayers came true, and I started seeing 11s every hour on the hour, starting the moment I woke up at 6:11 until the moment I went to sleep. I also saw triple digits always on the clock. At times I had the sense that my angels were mocking me. I was angry. I did not want to heed their call. This persisted for a long while. I began having intense dreams and told a friend about some of them. I told her I felt like they were really happening. She told me that they probably were and suggested I read your book, The Awake Dreamer. I did, and as I listened to the audiobook, I remained skeptical and unyielding. But I listened on. Then one night you spoke of a sort of tree of life and an attempt to gain access to it through a shortcut. The keeper of the shortcut asked you if you'd like to enter, and when you said yes, he told you you did not deserve it. After that, you began the hard work of daily meditation. Listening to that section of the book took my breath away. The work that lay ahead of me suddenly illuminated, but I still didn't want it. I told myself if I look at the clock and it's a normal odd number, I'll put it all away and carry on with my life. And if it's my angel number, I'll make the commitment to meditate daily. I flipped my phone over and it was 11:11. Crap, what were the chances? I began daily meditation and it was exceedingly intense. I felt overwhelmed, sometimes scared, and out of control. Not a feeling I like. I'd close my eyes and almost instantly would melt into pure whiteness. Spirits came and I felt like they were drowning me, bombarding me with just too much. Within 2 weeks, I fell ill. I had a high fever and body pain for a week. In my fever haze, I had an awake dream where I was sitting on a bench and my aunt came and sat next to me. Between us was a basket. We could not talk, but she looked at me and she pushed the basket to me. Inside the basket was my inner child. She was hurt, lonely, confused, and felt abandoned. I knew that I needed to hold her and love her and heal her. I knew that my aunt had a part in hurting her and that she was so deeply sorry for it. She urged me further down this path, something she would have shunned while alive. When I came through the illness, I shut it all down. It was too much, too fast. I spent a few months trying to live more consciously. I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped drinking coffee. I lost 10 pounds. I started to enjoy my life a little more. I also started taking mediumship classes, meditating with purpose, and using new tools you and others have taught me. I made time for it each day, even if with caution. Even so, I still felt a resistance, a fear, a desire to run. I've recently listened to your book, Heavenly Alliance, and have learned so much from it. One coincidence in particular deeply affected me, and I'd like to share it. I got my first tarot deck a few weeks ago. At first, I was just trying to understand what the cards meant. I was pulling cards with my son and using ChatGPT to help us analyze them. I settled into a more meditative card pulling routine for a few days. And for 4 days in a row, I pulled the Tower card. I read along as much as I could about what that might mean. Nothing I read resonated with me. The next day, I was listening to the part in your book where you talk about spiritual awakening as the hero's journey. At the point in the journey where you fall into the depths of despair and you are down on your knees begging, just at that moment, coincidences can show you the way. You said that the Tower card represents this stage of the hero's journey and explained how. Everything clicked. A deep, surging pain surfaced, and I sat with it and I wrote and wrote. I'm not in the clear, but I can see the light now. Thank you for helping me along and teaching me. Wow. I really loved that email, and I just wanted to share it because sometimes you work so hard on a project and you put it out into the world and you don't know if it's helping or not. And so selfishly, it's just such an honor to have received a letter like this and know that anything I said or put out there helped someone. But I also wanted to share this because it shows how patient our guides and our angels are with us. I mean, look how strongly she resisted this. And look, they actually had to knock her not over the head, but on her feet, right? To start this whole journey and get her to really look within. And so I hope her wonderful story and her honesty and how it's hard. It's hard to become spiritually awakened. It's hard to walk that path, but we are not alone. And our spirit guides and angels are always with us, and they will be patient as we go through all the unraveling and the shedding that needs to happen for us to really get to the core of who we are.
Very, very well said. Incredibly well said. And I was thinking as you were speaking that the fact that it disabled this person's foot and feet metaphysically are about taking a step forward, about moving forward, about forward motion. And it would be interesting to know if it was the left or the right, because there's a difference there. But I also think that, the fact that this person was so open about being angry and no, that's not the answer I want. And I think sometimes we feel like it's not spiritual to feel the human emotions that go with the frustration that comes into our life. And we have to acknowledge that as much as. And the fact that your book was suggested, I love your book, but I'm giving a high five to Spirit on that one, because I feel like Spirit said, okay, let's tell the friend, recommend this book. This is going to help this person start to take that step forward.
It's such an honor and a privilege, and anything that can just be dropped in our path that helps, just like a pebble, and you put all the pebbles, all the things that are dropped onto our path, and soon you have a whole paved road that's a lot easier to walk. But it does take time, and we have to be as patient with ourselves as clearly our guides and angels are patient with us. We have to be gentle on ourselves. And just with her dream and that hurt, confused, lone inner child, I think there's still aspects of us as adults. We always talk about healing the inner child. Well, let's also heal the inner adult. He or she
Right.
needs a hug too.
Yeah. And that the person knew that the aunt had a part in hurting her and
Yeah.
was so deeply sorry for it. And how many times have we done mediumship readings where the person has expressed, I'm sorry I couldn't be there, or I know that I wasn't easy to be around, or I'm sorry for the pain that I put you through, in a way that they might not have been able to express it when they were here. So
So
this is
true.
beautiful, and also thank you to this person for sharing it, because I'm sure there are a lot of listeners who can relate to this.
Yes.
Um, our next one, my husband and I were on a short trip and decided to take a shorter route. As we drove through a flat, desolate area with rundown homes, I started to feel a lot of anxiety and emotion, like I might cry if I spoke. Even our dog was more anxious, pacing and panting more than usual. At one point, I thought, if I had to live here, I'd want to kill myself. I'm not suicidal at all. It was just a thought that popped into my head, which felt so strange. My husband even offered to turn back, but I told him to keep going. Once we got into more mountainous scenery, my anxiety eased up and I started to feel like myself again. I did some clearing phrases afterward, which may have helped. Do you think I was picking up on the energy of the area, or maybe I'm just being overly sensitive? I've never experienced anything quite like it before. I'd love to hear your insight. Thank you so much. I don't think it's being overly sensitive, and this is my soapbox. I think we need to stop doing that to ourselves. We're blessed to be this sensitive. We're lucky to be this sensitive. We get to feel things on a depth and a range that a lot of people never experience. That's a nice twist on it, isn't it?
It's beautiful. And you're absolutely right.
Um, but I do think it's the energy of the area, and especially if they were going through a flat, desolate area with rundown homes, there's pain, there's grief, there's so much that happens, and the energy of a space. How many times have you been somewhere and just felt like, oh, this just doesn't feel right to me?
Oh, yeah. We had a listener, I think, last month who wrote about the fishing spot she and her husband and son would go to, and she would feel all weird and upset and frazzled
Yeah.
and sad. And she did research on the area, remember? And it turned out there was a lot of heavy sadness and some drowning accidents that had happened just in that spot. So sometimes just doing some research on that area, or knowing it's an area that is, fraught with some issues, can be helpful, because we do need, as sensitive people, it's a double-edged sword. It is a gift, like you said, it is a beautiful thing. But the opposite side of it is, you're always wondering, is this my imagination? Am I making this up? Is this coming from me? Is it coming through me? So having that validation, I think, can be so important.
And the fact that it eased up when they got more into the mountains and started to feel more like themselves again, that's important. But this isn't about because it was run down or desolate, because you can have the same exact feelings in a high-end suburban neighborhood. It just doesn't feel right. And I think we need to start to trust ourselves more with honoring. There's something that you're picking up on, even if you can't put it into words or it doesn't make sense at the time.
Yeah. And there are things you can do. You can wear a crystal every day that you ask to protect you from picking up on other people's or other places' energy. You can even cross your fingers. That blocks your energy from receiving all the stuff going on around you. You can visualize the bubble of light, or you can visualize a bubble of gold energy to kind of lock in your own energy. Or you could just pray for protection, or just intend that you're shielded. So all of those things can help too.
Oh, beautiful.
Our next one says, I wanted to share an experience I had recently and see if you have any insights on whether it was intuition or a coincidence, even though I know you don't believe in coincidences. Last year, my boss called me in for an unexpected meeting. This was unusual, and I felt nervous because I could tell it was about something important. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but I was bracing myself for bad news, which is not typically how I operate. Well, the meeting turned out to be great news. She was giving me an unexpected large raise for my performance. Ooh, congratulations. I breathed a sigh of relief and said to her, well, this is much better news than I was expecting. She asked what I was expecting, and out of nowhere, I said, I was afraid you were going to tell me you have cancer. I kind of surprised myself when I said this because although I was nervous for the meeting, I hadn't actually had the conscious thought that my boss might have cancer. My boss asked why I was worried she had cancer. I told her I really had no idea where it came from. Fast forward about 9 months later, and my boss called me in for another meeting. This time, she was telling me that she had cancer. I knew she had some health concerns due to a large number of appointments, so I wasn't entirely shocked, but I also wasn't expecting the news. It wasn't until weeks later that I remembered our conversation from several months earlier. This really got me wondering, was this intuition? In the months in between when I said what I was afraid that she had cancer and when she told me she had cancer, I never thought about it again. I'm grateful for any guidance or knowledge you can provide. Thank you for this podcast. It is truly my anchor, and I look forward to it each week. P.S. My boss had surgery and is fully recovered. Oh, thank goodness for that. So I call this, well, I don't want to say what I call it because it's not the nicest term. I guess I have to now, don't I? I call it like, it's almost like psychic diarrhea. Have you ever had that, Denise, where you're with someone and something just pops out of your mouth and you never intended to say it? You don't know where it came from. It just spilled right out.
Oh, more often than I can count. Yes.
Yes. That's always my sign that it's intuition speaking through me.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally we have filters all around in our brain and in our thoughts and our words and our acts and our deeds. But when something just pops out of you like that, that to me is a sign that it is not coincidence, but it is definitely your intuition.
The spontaneity of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was speaking with someone in a reading the other day, and I kept saying, well, this is random. And then I'd bring something through like that. And I thought, it's not random, but that's my human side trying to justify that I don't know that it's just so spontaneous and it didn't really float with the conversation. So I think that's another part of it. When it's so disconnected from what you're talking about or what you're expecting, I agree. It's coming through you, not from you.
Yeah. And I don't know that there's a whole lot we can do to prevent that.
No.
Like I was saying with the other listener, how you can wear a crystal, or I think sometimes when those things just drop into your head and they just come out of you, it's your guides, your angels, your intuition, your higher self talking. I'm really glad the boss is doing great, though.
Yes, very, very much so. And I'm glad that this person is enjoying the podcast.
And got a raise.
Yes, this is all a win-win.
Yeah.
Our next one says, I listen to your podcast all the time, and I can't begin to tell you how much it's helped me. The event I want to share with you happened 38 years ago. I was 18 and he was 20. We were in love, real love, the kind of young love where you're insanely full of all the physical sensitivity and emotional feelings. I just graduated from high school and we were engaged to be married. On August 1st, 1987, it all ended. I was in the back seat of a car with his sister en route. My fiancé was on his motorcycle going to the same destination. We lost sight of him for a bit. He was ahead of us when we noticed he had pulled over to the side of the road. His sister had just gotten her driver's license, and when she saw him on the side of the road, she decided to pull over onto the curb. A decision that no one should make on a 2-lane highway. I watched my fiancé approach the car on his motorcycle. As he was coming towards us, he either lost balance on his motorcycle or his kickstand was not up properly and fell back down. The bike slid on its side onto the pavement and slammed into the back of our vehicle. He had his helmet on, but the way that he hit the pavement, it instantly broke his neck. He passed away a few hours afterwards. Being engaged, the decision to transport him to another hospital was not mine to make. His mother pulled the plug, making the comment that she didn't want her son to be a vegetable for the rest of his life. As much as I begged her, with no avail, he was not given the opportunity or the chance to have a miracle happen. It took me a long time to accept her decision. I've been dealing with this loss my whole life. I'm 57 years old. I've been married and divorced twice with 2 girls. They're 10 years apart. I'm currently married for the 3rd time with a man that I love dearly and has never had children and will never have children together. I don't believe that time heals wounds. I just believe that it makes things easier. I spent my early years being mad. I spent a few years suicidal. I became dependent on alcohol. It's been rough, but I now consider myself a healthy and happy grandmother and wife. I have recently, over the last few months, found my inner self with my own intuitiveness. Throughout the years, he's given me signs and has come to me with dream visits. Listening to your podcast has greatly contributed to my healing process. I hope that my story helps other people in their own healing process. I wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. This, I know we're very much alike, as different as we are, we're very much alike with how we feel things so deeply. And this really, I felt in my core. This is because you think about the ages that they were, the level of emotion, to be there when someone you love dearly, to have no control over what's happening to someone that your voice isn't being heard. That's all so much trauma, so much grief. That the one thing that really, really pops out to me is that when this person says, I don't believe that time heals wounds, I just believe that it makes things easier. And I think that's often overlooked in grief work or in after we've lost someone that we love, that people think there's a definitive timeline where it's all going to go away and everything's fine. And I think for many people, you learn to work around that grief and tolerate it.
Yeah. Yeah. You learn to carry it better, but it doesn't go away.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we have these very significant moments in our life. I call them before and after moments, where your life is never the same after. And it is up to us how we go through life carrying the shards and the remains and the grief and the anger of that terrible before and after moment. And it's hard, and we have to be gentle on ourselves and understand what we're carrying. One of the questions I always have, and I've asked so many experts and therapists and psychologists, when you have righteous anger, because you can be angry at something, but there's 2 sides to it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Right.
maybe whatever. But when you have righteous anger, where it's like, yeah, anyone, Buddha would be mad at this. What do you do with it? What do you do with that anger? How do you transform it? How do you carry it? How do you that I think is a difficult one, and no one's really been able to successfully answer that for me. I did read something. It was a Buddhist monk had said when he was asked that question, and he said, picture anger like a hot burning stone, and if it's in your hand, it hurts. It's burning your hand, and you're going to hold that anger as long as the anger is more important than the pain. And
Right.
I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. But I also feel that when we're going through grief, sometimes anger, at least for me, anger is a safer emotion than sadness.
Oh, anger is much easier than sadness and depression.
Yeah. And I think anger can help us feel, it's an illusion, but it can help us feel safer and more protected in a way. Like, I'm in the right and I'm mad and all of that. But at some point, we have to face the sadness of a situation. And it seems like this dear listener has definitely worked through that. And I think that's a very brave thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. You can't do it alone. You really do need to rely on a therapist, a friend, your guides, your higher self, journaling. You can't do it alone, but you've got to transform that anger into sadness.
But also, the one of the last line, it's been rough, but I now consider myself a healthy and happy grandmother and wife. So if this person had chosen not to go through all of those life lessons, to do all that evolution, all that growth, all that soul work, they never would have gotten that place of being happy and being in love with someone again and being getting to see the grandbabies grow up. So I was thinking about that the other day when we hit those times in our life where it seems really easy compared to where we've been. There's a fear of complacency. Am I taking it for granted? Is the rug going to be pulled? Is something going to happen? And I think sometimes we've done enough of the personal work that it's time to just relax and have some peace.
Yeah, and enjoy this leg of the ride.
Yeah,
And you have to give yourself permission for that too.
very much so.
Ooh, it's heavy.
It is.
Okay, our next friend writes, I wanted to write about a dream travel experience I had. I experienced walking into a lobby which felt like the lobby of a university. There were people of all ages, little kids, middle aged, and people more senior, in clusters and groups talking. When I walked into this space, there was no door. I walked straight in through a window, and when I did, a blue light surrounded me. A little boy greeted me and playfully asked, Are you a good or bad writer? I smiled and said, I'd like to think I'm a good writer. And he smiled too and said, Okay, you can come in. I walked to my cluster, and it felt like a familiar group of 5 to 7 people, with a woman who felt like our mentor. I don't remember what everyone was talking about, but we were one of many small groups discussing topics and learning. The mentor in my group was kind of intense, and at some point she said, Remember, my job is to guide you. I chimed in and remarked, You also correct us when we are wrong, and my group laughed. Our mentor smiled and said, Yes, that's true too. I love these travel experiences because it reminds me there are familiar places and people out there beyond our human journey. We have friends, mentors, and family across the veil that we see regularly like we do in the physical world. We are supportive of one another, playful with one another, and loving with one another on the other side. It reminds me of a message I got from one of my grandmothers in a reading not too long ago, where she said, Remember, there are people over here who you don't know who really love you.
Oh,
I love that. One of the things I talk about a lot in my book, The Awake Dreamer, are these types of stories. And these people who have these experiences of going to class or learning and seeing the same people over and over and over again. And this is not new. It's nothing that I was like, oh, look at what I discovered. There's been many books written on this. And I think it is very, very true. When we sleep, we do go other places and we visit with our guides, our angels. But I also think what she's describing is visiting her soul family.
oh, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
And I think that we have a whole family on the other side. And some of us incarnate, and I think some of us decide to stay to be a part of our team to help us stay on our path.
And I know I've talked about this quite a bit over the last couple of years with the ancestral healing work that I've done with groups of people, but I'm finding that when people are doing the level of work that they've committed to shift the family dynamics or to step up and do something that someone else previously might not have been able to do in the family lineage, that they do step closer. They do seem to be more apparent in readings. They do seem to be more present in that person's life. So I think when we open the door intentionally or spontaneously, that people are coming closer, ancestors are coming closer, guides are coming closer to help us get through this really tumultuous time that the planet is going through right now.
Yeah, I agree. And we can cultivate recalling those experiences with more meditation, with writing down our dreams and talking about them. Can I share a dream I had
Oh,
recently?
I'd love it. Yes.
Okay, so I had this dream over break and I don't know what to make of it. Now, it's about a famous person who's still alive, so I don't want to throw
Okay.
anyone name. So I'm just going to call him John Doe.
Okay.
And he's an older, famous singer. So I'm in this dream and I'm in this space and I see this lovely, beautiful older woman and my guide is with me. And I said to my guide, can I give her the message? And he said, you can try. I don't know if she's ready to hear it. And I said, okay. So I walk over to her and I said, oh, you're John Doe's wife. And she says, yes, I am. And I said, he just wants you to know that he's doing really, really great. And he misses you terribly, but he knows you all will be together soon. And he wants to thank you for being such a great wife. And she was receptive to that. And I could feel my guide next to me kind of nodding, like, keep going. And so I said, he also wants to let you know that your daughter is going to be okay, your youngest child. And it's going to, and she goes, nope, I don't want to hear anymore. And she walked away. And my guide said, we'll try again. Good job. And I woke up and I thought about this person and I said, I didn't know he died. Like, how could I be giving his wife a reading? I didn't even know he died. So I didn't know anything about him. It's like someone my parents, it's like old, older. This man is older than my parents would be if they were still alive. So I don't really know anything about him. So I Googled him and he is still alive. And one of his children is going through a very, very difficult time. And his wife is on the other side and has been deceased for a long time.
Oh.
So it just really made me think, was I giving a reading to a person in spirit?
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Like, do they need to hear from mediums too? I don't know. I just don't know what to make of it.
Wow. Well, that's a lot
I'm
to think
submitting my
about.
own community question to you, Denise.
Well, the way you describe it, it was very vivid. It was, and I know you dream vividly. You wrote the book on it, but still, it doesn't feel like it was sketchy or, oh, well, that's interesting. I was talking to this woman. It feels like it was a very immersive dream for you.
No, I remember waking up in the dream.
Oh.
And that's always a sign to me that I'm in a soul travel dream where I'm actually like my soul is somewhere else.
Uh-huh.
And I was in this like weird space I'd never really seen before. And then I saw my guide. And then I saw this woman and she was just looking out the window and she was kind of a little bit sad. And I asked if I could give her a reading. So when I woke up, I just assumed this singer had died and I was giving his wife's soul a reading while she was sleeping. But no, she's been dead a long time.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, it could have just been a dream. But I wonder if, I know from doing readings for years that when we die, we don't just magically heal everything.
No.
We're still doing the work on the other side. But surely there's mediums on the other side who can help. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just left me thinking, why me?
Right.
I could see if it was like Prince. Like, I loved Prince. I was so sad when he died.
Mm-hmm.
I not that I have a connection to him, but I always admired his work. But this was a man, I've never even really listened to his music, which is weird.
Well,
I
but
mean,
interesting too that when you mentioned the daughter, nope, I'm done, I'm
she
out.
was totally shut down, did not want to discuss that.
I just wondered, I mean, this is random, but did the husband's higher self come to you to say, I need you to get in touch with my wife so that she can be there to help my daughter transition?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
See, that's the cool part of all of this is if anyone is saying they know all the answers, then they're not being totally honest because there's no bottom to this.
No.
You're never the best. You're never there's no like, oh, I've learned everything there is about spirit. Now I can, personal experience. Maybe there's someone out there that has that key that opens the lock, but I sure don't.
I don't. I mean,
I'm,
I remember the first time I gave a woman a really, really good reading and she was nodding and validating everything. And at the end, I was so pleased with myself because it was a good reading. And she said, that was definitely my husband, but he's alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? And it turned out he had Alzheimer's and she hadn't been able to communicate with him in 6 or 7 years.
Oh.
And that was the first time I realized we could connect with consciousness that way.
Mm-hmm.
But this dream experience has made me think, does it go both ways? When does a medium, I always feel like our job is to connect the living with the deceased. But does it go both ways where we're here to connect the deceased with the living as well?
Oh, I think so, yes. I
Yeah.
think that they come through. And the reason I said that so quickly is I did a reading the other day and someone came through and we couldn't figure out who it was. And it was a really strong description. And nope, nope. And the person kept coming back. So I knew they were there for that person. And then finally, the person I was reading for said, "Oh, that's so and so." And it was relevant to something that was going on in that person's life, that like that person held a memory that made sense to this person that couldn't have come through from someone else. So did that person in spirit who had been gone a long, long time step forward to say, I'll be the one that will bring the message through to this person because they're not going to understand it if it comes from somebody else?
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder too, I often, if I'm doing a reading for someone and they've lost a loved one kind of early, it's usually like someone who's lost a partner that they love dearly in like their 50s or 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, the person in spirit will say, I'm not going to fully cross over until my partner joins me. I've gotten that message many times. And I am not suggesting purgatory, but it's almost like they're not going to fully transition to the other side. They want to like be a little bit here so they can watch out for everyone who's still here and a little bit on the other side. I still don't really know what that means, but I wonder if this famous singer's widow or whatever, I think I just reversed that. Their wife is like that, where she's kind of still here and kind of there, and that's why she needed a living medium instead of a deceased medium.
Well, especially if the daughter is struggling,
Right.
because they will come closer when, from my own
Oh,
experience,
that's a
that,
good point.
but it's so much to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also how different mediums work, how different people connect with spirit. So that's why you and I are both so strong when we teach mediumship or when we do it on ourselves, as mediums when we're working, we always emphasize to find the way that works best for you because you can go to 5 mediums and they're going to bring through the information differently.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a good point. And no one right way, you know?
No.
There's many ways to spirit, and I think that's really important.
Yeah,
Well, these were some really, really good questions and beautiful stories.
they
We have
really
such
were.
lovely listeners, don't we?
We do. And I think what I love as much as the when people send in questions or stories is the feedback that we get from other people that say, "Oh my gosh, that was my story," or that really resonated with me, or I had that happen to me. So it really does bring it that we are a community.
Yes. Well, and it's nice to know that we're not alone, that we're all in this together.
Right.
And, I think a lot of people are into being an empath, being intuitive, working their spiritual path, but they don't have a lot of people they can talk to about it.
Correct.
And I think having shows like this is important. On my other podcast, we were interviewing this lovely woman, and Denise, I might edit it out when I edit the show, but she casually dropped in the word egregore. She was
Mhm.
like, every time I teach a class, I feel like I'm creating an egregore of positivity. I got so excited because I was like, I don't know anyone in my normal day to day life who knows what an egregore is. And it just made me so happy to be talking conversationally with someone who's like, yes, I created an egregore. And I was like, wow. So I just think that's a great thing when we can, find people that we can talk to about all our weird, wonderful, fun stuff. Like, I
Okay.
haven't told anyone about that dream. Now I just told a lot of people.
Yes, you did. Okay, so for the listeners who aren't familiar with what an egregore is, could you explain that?
Sure. An egregore is kind of like a tulpa. It's an energy that is collectively created when everyone is feeling or thinking or projecting the same thought and intention. So an
Oh,
egregore can be good or bad, depending on what the collective intention is. And a lot of the research being done on egregores now is that we are creating negative egregores as a society without being aware of it. When we feed the flames of negativity in the news or what have you, we're creating an egregore.
oh,
Yeah. Mark Stavis wrote a really good book on it. There's a lot of really cool information out there about it.
well, thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. And thank you to our wonderful listeners who took time to send in a question or a story. Remember, you can always email us, enlightenedempaths@gmail.com, if you want to be a part of our next community connections. And if you want to find out about some of the great work Denise and I are doing, please check out our websites, thegratefulmessenger.com and samanthafay.com. And if you like the show, it would really help us out if you would take a minute to leave us a review wherever you're listening to this, or just hit the share button and send the episode to a friend. We would really appreciate it. Remember, as always, to show up, do great work, and share your light.
Take care.